Welcome back to Nerf Game Theory. I am Captain Xavier, and today I'm going to talk about ammo types and how they can be used in your games to add variety by creating new game mechanics based around certain ammo types. Now, there is nothing in the world wrong with just having a dart's a dart, a blaster's a blaster, a tag's a tag, not having any variance at all. There's nothing wrong with that. It makes the game very simple, very easy, but it can lead to certain ammo types getting completely neglected because there's no advantage to using them. And so why would you use an obscure ammo type when there are better options? Now, if you're someone like Brett, he does it because he just loves it. Same with me. I like running ridiculous stuff because it's fun. But if there's a reason to it, it makes it a little bit more fun to run something like rockets or mega when it can have an effect on the game. So how you choose to set the variant rules, the different game mechanics, is entirely up to you. And it is definitely something you're going to have to play test, because it's one of those things that will be different for every group. Your scenario style, your play style, your location, all those variables that we've talked about so far are all going to have an effect on whether certain mechanics for ammo types are going to work or not. Certain things might work well in an open field that won't work well in an enclosed arena. So yeah, play test it, talk to your players, figure out what's working, what's not working, what would they like to try, and do not be afraid to experiment. Try something this round, try something different the next round, try something different the next round, try something different at different games, and work out what you really like. It took us a couple of years at Borst to really kind of nail down what we really liked and the kind of things we enjoyed, and then we still would occasionally have weird variants that we would throw in. For the most part in our rules, we ended up going with 3 different ammo types. 3 broad categories. We had small, medium, large. And the difference was what they did when they hit something that was in your hand. Whether it be a blaster, a melee weapon, or a shield, it didn't matter. It did the same thing to any of those when they were hit. And this came about because one of the questions that always came up every single game is, do blaster tags count? You know, when you're always taking cover and the only thing you're sticking out is your head or your blaster, it was common for blasters to get tagged, and the question was always, should they count or not? And we'd usually vote, and sometimes it would, and sometimes it wouldn't, and it would go back and forth, and it was slightly confusing. And so I proposed the idea of standardizing the rules so that anything in your hand, or any piece of equipment in your hand, whether it was a blaster, a melee, or shield, counted as a shield for the purposes of what happened when it got hit. So light ammunition are things like rival, half darts, full darts, ultra, hyper, vortex, your small common ammunition types. If they hit an item in your hand, whether, again, blaster, melee, or shield, doesn't do anything. Blaster tags don't count if it's regular sized ammo. You could, you could go lightsaber and block darts out of the air if you made a really big sword, and of course shields would stop them. Mega, or medium ammo type, which consisted of mega and I believe rebel arrows, because they're about the same size head, they pierce anything they hit. So it counts as a tag. If it hits your blaster or your melee or your shield, it counts as a tag and you go respawn and you're back in afterwards. And then large ammo, which are things like Titan rockets, Demolisher rockets, big bad bow arrows, thrown weapons. Thrown weapons counted as large ammunition. It not only counted as a tag if it hit the object in your hand, it destroyed the object. So if you manage to hit somebody's blaster with a Demolisher rocket, not only are they tagged, the blaster is destroyed and they have to switch weapons. Same thing if it hits your melee weapon or hits your shield, it is destroyed and you can't use it for the rest of the round. Now this worked because we only played like 5-minute rounds. We played lots of really short rounds, and so losing your blaster or losing a shield for the rest of a 5-minute round, it'd probably be a couple of minutes in, you'd probably only be out it for, half the round, wasn't a big problem. If you're playing like hour-long games or 3-hour-long missions or whatever, then that mechanic might not work because eventually everybody's stuff is going to have been blown up. And that's more of a downside, and it might not work as well. You might still like it as a mechanic, especially if, say, large ammunition is extremely rare or hard to get a hold of. So you're only going to get a couple of shots, and you may or may not make a tag with it. Again, you're going to have to figure out what works for your game and what works for your scenarios and all of that. Melee also counts as light ammo. I don't think I mentioned that. Obviously, because otherwise a sword hitting a sword, if they were both medium, then a sword hitting a sword, you'd both be tagged. And that wouldn't work. So that's how we ran with it. Afterworlds went with a very different mechanic. When I first played there, I think they had 5 different ammo types. They had blue darts, green darts, mega darts, rival, and vortex, and they all did very different things. Some ignored armor, some first it took your armor, others ignored armor, some ignored everything. So like cybernetics were immune to everything except plasma rounds, which were a rival, I think. Vortex did something else weird. They all had different effects. And it was kind of difficult to keep track of, and I think they've simplified that down to just 2 ammo types now, if I remember correctly. Maybe there's 3. But again, that was what they discovered while playtesting, is no one is even bothering to use this ammo type, or it's just confusing to keep track of it all, and we don't want to have to stock all the different ammo because all ammo was provided by the site, and so they just eliminated them. But the variants that you can come up with are limited only by your imagination, really. You could have ammo types where when you get hit, you have to drop your blaster and go respawn without it and have to come back and get it. You could have ammo types where when you get tagged by it, you freeze and you can't move again until a member of your team comes up and tags you, and then you can go respawn, and so you can freeze people and have them not respawning. You could have an ammo type that causes players to switch sides every time they're hit with it. You know, again, just an infinite number of possibilities, and you can try different things in different rounds. So this round we're using, this blaster type causes you to switch sides. This round we're going to go with freeze ammo or what have you. And you can have things where you're not allowed to start with those blasters. Those special ammo types are in blasters that are on the field, and that you have to get to them, and there's very limited ammo for them, and you can't reload, or you can, but you have to obviously scrounge off the ground. Then you can have really powerful effects, because it's not like just everyone's going to take the field with that ammo type. It's now you have to find the one Mega XL blaster that's out there, and then if you manage to get a tag, that person switches sides, but you only get one shot, and you can't reload, but having one person switch side mid-scenario can make a huge difference. Things like that. Figure out what works, and don't be afraid to experiment. But do, of course, make sure that the players are aware. Like, look, we're play testing this new ammo type idea. We're going to run it in one scenario. If it's a complete mess, just let us know and we won't do it. And you know, it's a mulligan for that 5-minute round. You know, moving on. Don't be afraid to do that. Every once in a while, try something new. It keeps the games interesting. It keeps the games from becoming too stagnant. Try a little something different every time, and work out what you really do like and what you really don't like. You can also have things where, like, you have armor that players can get a hold of, and then they have certain ammo types, or ignore the armor. That's how they do it at Afterworlds. You can add more of that LARP aspect of special abilities and special bonuses and power-ups and gear-ups and stuff like that to your game, and then have ammo types that build off of those. You can also use ammo types in scenario-specific stuff, and I'll talk about that when I get into scenario design. That's going to be a whole different series. But you can have special ammo types linked to a scenario, as opposed to just a general rule like the 3 that we have. Standard rule on safety, some ammo types are going to be homemade. Throwables, you definitely, if people are bringing throwable weapons, you're going to want to check them and see, yeah, this one's squishy enough, that doesn't have any hard things. You don't want to have like stuffed animals with the hard bead eyes that people are throwing at each other, stuff like that. Homemade rockets, there's a lot of different ways of doing that. For like Titan Ball and stuff, they're going to be homemade. You might want to check and make sure, okay, what material is in here? Half darts used to be a big issue. People used to make a lot of homemade half darts, and there were ones with BBs in them or made out of hot glue or washers or whatever else people were putting in their half darts. Now, pretty much the best half darts on the market are the ones you can buy at Walmart for $10, so you don't see a whole lot of homemade darts anymore. It's just not worth the effort. But again, the standard safety rules, if you're uncomfortable allowing something on the field, don't. Don't allow it if you're not convinced it's safe. Give them the opportunity to demonstrate that it's safe, or to prove that it's safe, or to make alterations so that it is safe. But until you're convinced, don't allow it. But I really enjoy variant ammo types, and I will probably start running some more interesting stuff on my field, especially in the arena where there's a lot of cover, and I plan to add more interesting cover. I plan to add ammo types that allow you to blow up pieces of cover. As opposed to just the item in their hand, like blow up bunkers or blow up towers or take down whole wall sections. There'll be 2 Titan rockets on the field that, one shot each. You can only use them once, and whatever they hit is destroyed. Stuff like that. It's an easy way to add simple mechanics, and especially since so many people have all of these different blasters and all these different ammo types, it's easy. Now, the problem you can run into is, again, balance, because if one side has all of the special ammo and the other side doesn't have any, that can be a problem. So, but you know, that's also kind of that's one where you might go ahead and let that happen. And that's the encouragement of, well, get the other ammo types, you know, up your game, increase your loadouts, bring a Mega Blaster so you can take out shields, bring a Mega XL so you can occasionally get that blaster tag that takes out a sniper's caliber or something, you know. There's a level of balance of how often do you let the arms race kick in and force people to improve their loadouts. And ammo types is definitely a place where that can become a thing, where if one group is really good at bringing those special ammo types and using them, that can give them an edge. And you may choose to balance it, like, all right, we're going to split up the, you know, a Mega on each side, and a Mega XL on each side, a shield on each side, okay, that's fair. Or not. Again, figure out what works for you, figure out what rule variants work, how you want to balance it. Don't be afraid to change things, definitely listen to your players, and it can definitely add a lot to your game. So there are my thoughts on ammo types. I definitely want to hear from you guys in the comments what interesting, weird ammo variants you've come up with. Things like, yeah, if you get hit in the arm with this ammo type, you can't use that arm until the next time you respawn, or things like that. Variants of area of effect stuff. You do, you know, a rocket lands here, everyone within 10 feet is tagged, and it's honor system, referees calling stuff. How do you do stuff like that? I want to hear about it because I want to try more interesting stuff. So give me some comments. Ammo variants. Lovely. Thank you for watching.